I'm Norm Easterbrook, Director of RiverCenter here in Columbus, Georgia. For more than a year, the COVID-19 crisis has been ravaging our entertainment, arts, and cultural community. We anxiously await the day that we will once again welcome audiences, and that day is now in sight. With what we have learned from science and the health community, and with the advent of the vaccine for COVID-19, we are all planning on how we will restart the arts in Columbus, Georgia. Here at RiverCenter, we thought it would be useful to share with audiences and patrons of the arts how our various institutions have been managing this past year, but most importantly, what to look forward to as we restart the arts. RiverCenter Arts in the Spotlight is a series of conversations focusing on how restarting our entertainment, art, and cultural organizations will look and what that means to our community. Let's start the conversation. This conversation is with Scott Harris, Director of the Joyce and Henry Schwob School of Music here at Columbus State University. Scott, thank you so much for stopping by to have a little chat about what's going on. I hope you're doing okay.
Yeah, doing okay. Thanks, Norm. Good to be with you.
You've been with CSU and the Schwob School of Music since 2013.
Correct.
What brought you here?
Well, certainly one thing that brought me here was the RiverCenter. I mean, coming into this space, this extraordinary space, told me that the community of Columbus really valued the arts, and as we've come to learn big time, it really values the Schwob School of Music. So it's an extraordinary community in that respect. The love and attention they give to our students and faculty and staff is unparalleled. I simply don't know another place in the country where it's that kind of intense support. They're fans, but they're also, providing financial support that helps sustain our students and our faculty increasingly. So it's the community support, it's the place itself, and then we've got great faculty and students. And so I think for all of those reasons.
Yeah, it all works together, and this, clearly we are partners occupying this building, and it's really wonderful. What's always amazed me about the partnership is there's really very little in writing.
Yes.
We just coexist together and work together as close as we can, and I truly appreciate your help and support in making all that work. You've got a varied background. You've got degrees in music theory, music composition, you're a cellist,
yes,
and computer science.
Yes. Yeah, computer science before the personal computer even existed. So it seems like the dim mists of history at this point. But.
Yeah, the question I have about that is what motivated you to engage in those pursuits? And I'm interested to know what's the thread that connects computer science to the cello, to music theory, and all of that.
Well, there are really two answers. The first answer is that my parents told me if I majored in music, I had to minor in something useful. So. And in that day, the funny thing is that majoring in computer science meant taking courses where you were working on these massive mainframes that filled rooms, and you walked around with punch cards, things that people don't even know what they are anymore. But so I took all of those courses and got a minor in computer science to satisfy my parents. But in the end, I learned of all kinds of relationships because at Indiana at the time, Douglas Hofstadter was one of the computer science professors, and he wrote a book that made a big splash back around the early 1980s called Gödel, Escher, Bach, really linking the fundamental ideas of computer science with music and with Bach's music in particular. So I got to take his course with him, and most of the people taking it were not musicians. So I had a terrific time in that course, meeting him and learning about those kinds of connections. And so, in many ways, they linked up really well.
You came here from the University of Southern Maine,
correct.
Portland. You spent some time at Ithaca College, and I can't remember the other was it Illinois?
Indiana.
Indiana. I'm sorry. Yeah. Tell me about that whole progression and how that all worked for you.
Sure. Well, so I got all of my degrees at Indiana University, which is a pretty well-known music school in the scheme of things, and got to study with some extraordinary professors. When I started there in the late 1970s as an undergraduate, a lot of the faculty was still emigres from Europe who had fled World War II and had moved to the States and had created this amazing community in Bloomington, Indiana of world-class musicians who had come from Europe. So I really feel like I got the kind of historical training that's really hard to come by nowadays, but has proved invaluable and is a great place, a sort of a launching place to get more creative with the curricula and things that we're doing right now, actually. So,
as a cellist and performer, artist, these have been kind of trying times. I don't want to dwell on it too terribly much. But what has sustained you artistically and professionally? Are there things that you return to each day that keep you going?
Well, I think return is probably the best word because I've been playing the piano a lot more than I ever did before. So as you said, I'm a cellist. Piano is not my instrument. I took lessons as a little kid and sort of learned my functional way around the keyboard. But so I've been practicing. I go to the piano really every day now and I'm playing a lot of Bach, a lot of Brahms, and actually, developing, I think, a technique that I had always wished I had where I can sort of really weight my fingers and bring out the inner lines of Bach, sort of play at slightly different dynamic levels. And so I know that's a little technical, but that's been a real joy going back to the piano and developing some skills sort of, I guess, this late in life.
Sure. Yeah, I think that in a way there are a lot of people going through that now where they've got the time on their hands, and I think also looking back on the things that they wish that they had done, and for want of time and so on. I've done that, but it's with the harmonica, and you probably don't want to go there. So.
We once had a harmonica major at the University of Southern Maine, actually. So,
really?
Yeah.
Tell me about
that.
that.
It's a Bachelor of Arts student, and the committee thought I was nuts, but I heard him play first, and I said, you got to let this kid audition. He's really, really, really good. And so, he got a Bachelor of Arts degree. He couldn't get a Bachelor of Music and Performance in harmonica, but harmonica was his primary instrument. So
that's great. And what I'm just going to now that you've opened that can of worms, what did he end up doing with that? I mean, did he go into teaching? Or?
He ended up going into scholarship, so he went on and got a PhD in musicology. So he really went the scholarly route. So
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I think that's quite wonderful. Yeah. That really is. The COVID crisis, obviously had its effect on campus at CSU, and lots of activities were disrupted. We've got our own protocols here in the building, which we're not going to go through. But I'd love to hear more about your experience with that. I mean, there were the first mechanical things that you went through. If you could talk about those a little bit and what's happening with your students now.
Sure. Well, we've got all of the, I guess you'd say, complications of running a diverse music school program, different degrees, different instruments, obviously, in performance areas. But we're also following all the protocols that are established by the University System of Georgia, which is fundamentally in charge of setting policy, and Columbus State University, and meeting all of the criteria we need to meet in that regard. But we worked really hard. We did a couple of things. We exploded our schedule so that we could rearrange rooms. We moved most of our classes into our rehearsal rooms because those are larger spaces where people can spread out. We moved most of our rehearsals onto our performance spaces, so they're on stages where they can spread out even more. And then we rearranged the time of everything virtually because we wanted to leave. We discovered that the air handling system in this building was really designed to maintain temperature and humidity above all else. So in order to give the air enough time to circulate, we've put in a dead hour between every single activity that goes on in our rooms. So as you can imagine, just scheduling all of that becomes an incredible jigsaw puzzle. And then upstairs, where our practice rooms are, we fog them after every use. So we have a fogger. We were trained by the National Guard on how to use it.
Oh, wow.
So we fog those rooms and let those rooms sit empty for an hour between each use because those are all very small rooms. So far, I think all of those protocols have been working really well, and the vast majority of our students and faculty and staff are healthy and are, even with all of the accommodations and all the changes we've made, are happy to be here in person. We're not yet singing in large groups, so there are still things that we look forward to. Once we've hit that threshold of vaccination, that will allow us to loosen the reins a little bit more and to do more of the things that we're familiar with. And I'd say the last thing is we're moving some performances around. Most of our performances are just virtual. We have a small invitee list that we can put about 40 people in the hall. And we're moving more performances outdoors. So watch for opera and jazz and some other things outdoors this summer. Obviously, it's hard to imagine as you and I are talking right now. I don't think it's broken freezing yet outdoors.
No, it's still 20 degrees outside, and each morning it feels like 14.
Yeah,
so.
but those times.
But you're
will come.
from Maine, so you kind of adjust.
Oh yeah, this is balmy for us. No, I think my blood is thinned actually now. I couldn't go back there at this point, I don't think, and be as comfortable as I am down here. So.
Yeah. The rigor of the academic institution, I think, depends so much on people being together and really kind of in close quarters, so you can, as a team, learn and exchange and share. And I know that that's a huge piece that's missing right now.
Right.
When it's warmer outside, we get to go out to the parking garage and we hear some folks playing their instruments.
Yep.
Tell me if there are any new or unique discoveries about this that kind of opened your eyes. Is there any of this that you're going to retain once we're done with it?
Well, we've heard nothing but positive comments about the music wafting from the RiverCenter parking garage. So a lot of music making is happening over there. We're actually doing a lot of lessons, or had been when it was temperate, and will resume when the temperature rises again, on the back porch of the Bartlett Center, which looks out over the Chattahoochee River. And so it's kind of neat to think that there are these Schwob sounds sort of wafting down the river on a day-to-day basis. And so we've heard from people, on the Riverwalk about how cool that is.
Yeah, and I caution people to drive slowly when entering the parking garage.
Yeah, please.
Please be very careful. And it really does create a great atmosphere. I got a couple of questions that I just wanted to make sure we got in with this. Is that, first of all, how can people access and learn about the virtual online programming and how to get at that?
Sure. Well, they're certainly welcome to email me, and we'll get them subscribed to our e-blast, which contains specific information about programs as they're about to come up. We did not print a season brochure as we typically do, as you know. More and more that timeliness is really important for people, and they want the information sort of right before things happen. And so we have an e-blast that goes out once or twice a week. But fundamentally, our live streams are primarily on our YouTube channel, which if you Google Schwob and YouTube, it's the first thing that pops up, which is great, or on our Facebook page. So everything we streams live to both sites. And I'd say about 80% of our concerts at this point are live streamed, so you can watch them as they happen. They're also archived on the YouTube site, so you could go back and watch them at your leisure. And then a handful we're actually producing. So we're creating video performances that are then carefully, professionally produced and uploaded. So we have a handful of those as well.
That's great. And just kind of one last question for me anyway. We're going to be done with this eventually when the vaccine is over, and we're going to welcome audiences back to the theater, and we really look forward to that.
Oh, absolutely.
What message do you have for your patrons, for your donors, for your students as you look forward?
Well, I'd say, first of all, thank you. Thank you for staying with us through all of this, for being as encouraging as they've been for our students. That's really, really important, and it's been great to see. And so, I hear from them that they're all really eager to come back to performances, and we want to make that happen as soon as we can do that, safely and securely, and we're going to find other ways to take music to them. So we're going to, try to get some things out to Spring Harbor this year. We're going to try to do a couple other things that allow us to get music to where they can, experience it and appreciate it, even if they can't join us in Legacy Hall or here in Bill Hurd or in any of our other spaces. So.
Well, that's terrific, and I thank you very, very much for spending time with us today. It's great, and we'll chat a little bit more as we see things open up and concerts come along. And do you have anything else you want to share with us, or
Absolutely, no, but just to say that we're cheering you guys on too, because we miss what you're able to bring to this stage, and our students miss it truly. So, the sooner we can all get back to some semblance of normal, the better for all of us.
And I think that's a really good, kind of a good note to end on. This has been bigger than COVID has been bigger than any one individual and any one organization. And I think it's critical that we, more than ever now, work together just to re-excite and re-engage our community.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
But thank you very much. In most circumstances, you get a coffee mug, but I'd love to present you with one of our RiverCenter masks.
Well, thank you.
That I hope that you will wear and stay in good health.
Indeed,
and
with pride.
Stay safe.
Yeah.
So thank you
Great.
very much, Scott. I so much appreciate you spending time with us.
Yeah. Thanks, Norman. Real pleasure.
Thanks. Thank you for joining us for this RiverCenter Arts in the Spotlight conversation. If you would like to suggest a topic, organization, or individual for us to include in these conversations, please contact us through our Facebook page or through our website. We look forward to continuing these conversations as we restart the arts in the Columbus community.